Now, obviously, a couple other Blackpool Combat Club members are in the same bracket as you, but the one member that I actually want to talk about is Wheeler Yuta. I'm kind of curious, what has it been like for you, sort of being a little bit of a mentor position, and then also what's your assessment of his growth since joining Blackpool Combat Club? Because he's obviously come a long way.
Yeah. I think it's been pretty cool, and it's like one of those things that, was never really planned. And if you'd asked me, like, before we'd ever came up with the idea, because the thing just kind of happened so naturally, just me and Brian wrestling each other, and, we have this, we're kind of two sides of the same coin. He's kind of, people like to categorize him as a technical wrestler, but when you really look at it, he's surprisingly violent, and people like to categorize me as a violent wrestler. When you really look at it, I might be surprisingly technical. So we're kind of two sides of the same coin, and the thing that kind of links us together in the middle, our common area, is that we both spent years and years training with William Regal, him a few years before me, and then me later, and him in Memphis, and then me in Florida, and then both have stayed with Regal all these years, even if we're not working in the same place or training in the same place every day, still always in contact and always communicating and sharing ideas and so forth. And if you look at Regal's style, some people might categorize him as a technician, and some people might categorize him as just a violent, slugging, elbow you in the face brawler. Just depends on where in the match you're watching. If you might see a super technical display from William Regal and be like, "Oh, right, it's the Queen style, fantastic." And then fast forward 15 seconds later, and he's snarling and elbowing a guy in the face and screaming, and and I think if you watch like a William Regal match, you see like, oh, that you see Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley in like the same guy. Anyway, that's like the whole Blackpool thing just kind of came together so quickly, and I just happened to have a couple matches with Wheeler, and it just kind of grew organically, and I beat the fuck out of him, and he just kept coming and coming. And we basically had no choice but to be like, all right, well, if this is the route you want to go and you really want to be good, then he's kind of the test subject, to see what we can really, because now we've put our stamp on him. So now he has to be good. We won't let him not fulfill his potential, or now I look bad. But that's the cool thing about and he's the guy that, he had all the technical abilities and could do all the moves and, good timing and footwork, and, he could execute and all this in the ring, but, he's didn't really have much of a, he's walking around, he's with Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor and, walking around with these guys, and it's like, I don't know that they're gonna, he's not a big guy, so you're gonna have to bring out some dog in him. You're gonna have to bring out some evil in him. You're gonna have to, for him to really, get to the next level and really, get into like a fight to the death with somebody in a main event. You're gonna have to bring something else out of him. So it was good for him to come with us. And it's about, bringing that, bringing the, intensity and aggression out of him. And, he's in the best spot almost of anybody. We have all these young guys, and, it's a little bit different. We don't do house shows, and a lot of times, work with like a young guy. I'll be like, a short thing, or I'll watch somebody's, match or whatever and be talking about it and be like, oh, I mean, you did good in the 5 minutes of the ad. But, in an ideal world, you would also have like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to do it this week and next week and the next week, So most of this guys are just like, in this television environment, it's hard to get experience. So he's in a really good spot because with the BCC, with the three of us, we're always going to be in the mix. Like right now, three of us are in this tournament, so he's always going to be around. And even if like he kind of has to, there's always going to be 8-mans and 6-mans and tag matches and stuff. So like winning and losing isn't really a big deal for him right now. It's just like he gets the chance to always kind of be around and be in the mix. And I was lucky enough to have that opportunity. Like when I came into WWE, we get to work with like top guys every single night for like the first couple of years in. So we were like in the mix. So when it was like time and it was like just all of a sudden, turn around one day and we were the main eventers. And I think it's going to be like that for Wheeler. Well, one day he'll just look and me and Brian won't be there and Claudio won't be there. And all of a sudden it'll be him, you know? And maybe by then they'll be like younger guys, hopefully. I think we could definitely, you know, there are people that are kind of in our sphere that are not necessarily like in our, you know, they're not necessarily with us on television, but, you know, people that we train with and people that we, and even people maybe we wrestle against, they're kind of, on our team in a different way. They're, you know, sometimes you gotta put good people on the other side. You know, if you got everybody on the same side, then, you know, nobody's gonna get any better. You gotta put some people on the other side so that, you know, rivals can bring the best out of each other. So, but I think, the cool thing about the BCC is it doesn't have to be, I don't see it as and I don't want it to be like a typical, just like a wrestling stable where we're like, oh, okay, we're the group and, you know, we're, always have to be on camera together. And if one guy's, then the other guy's got to come out and all this. And then eventually we have to break up and then whatever. And then we have to have a match and all that. And like, I don't see it as a typical wrestling stable at all. I see it more like it's more of just like a stamp of, authenticity. And, you know, I think it, you know, kind of brings credibility. You know, that's kind of what I want it to be. That, you know, if you get the, stamp of approval from us, then, you know, you're going to have a good future and people know that you're good. And, you know, I always looked at it like that, I thought about it when I was like, working with Jericho, I was trying to think of something, you know, for, you know, to make it different this time. And it was like thinking about it when he came into I compared him and Wheeler to like, you know, when he came into ECW, they called him the last survivor of the Hart Dungeon. And that just gave him instant credibility. And I'm like, that could be that's kind of how I think, we can be in the future, you know, but we're not just going to give that away to anybody with potential. Like, you're going to really have to work for that. So, you know, he's kind of the test subject. So he, you know, he gets beat up a lot and, he has to do a lot of work, but I think it'll pay off for him in the end.